Oisches. So the Rebbe explained that technically, even while in Golus, through the proper reflection, certainly the Nefesh Halikis, and with some work, the Nefesh Habahamis can appreciate the fact that the way of this descent is for a greater aliyah, and that allows for that relaxation and being able to learn undisturbed. However, what to do about people that are not at that level yet? Even if he did not reach that above step in which he can learn bimenucha and not have the golus interfere, because in his mind, in his brain, he did not absorb that idea that we mentioned before, that the descent in this low world, which there is nothing lower than it, is for a purpose. Especially when we talk the descent which is in the hills of Mashiach, which is in the end before Mashiach comes, which the descent is so deep. That's within the lower world. In the times of the hills of Mashiach, it's even lower within the Shirida Gedoyla B'Yosef, which is a tremendous, great descent. Kimavur B'Shas, as we see in the Gemara. The Gemara talks about how the problems will be in the end before Mashiach comes in Masechta Soita and other places. The Gemara brings down over there the ikvus of the Mashiach. We don't need any proof because we see this also openly with the eyes of flesh. And this, he doesn't realize that all this, he doesn't absorb the idea that it's hirak b'shvila aliyah, that it's only for an aliyah shalachei eino yirida mitzis, and that's why it's not really a descent. So, but he doesn't absorb that idea. So, afal pikein, but yet mikivon shureitzu mitzapeli is b'dargas aliyah, since he wishes and he looks forward to be in the level of this elevation. Harei al yidei zeh gufa. If you want to be there, that itself, then you find yourself, you're actually at that step. As the Baal Shem Tov says, that in the place where the person's thought and wants, that is where he is. And therefore, the person who wants to and looks forward to the aliyah for Mashiach to come, he's up there. That's where he is really. However, since there are external matters that interfere and obscure, so for this, the given advice is the Mishnah says that we start davening only by kovid rosh. Kovid rosh means that the person seriously thinking about the godless hakel, and the Rebbe will bring down from the Magid, the kovid rosh means rosh the rosh, meaning of the shechinta. But you have to have davening to kovid rosh. What is the davening? Tefillah. Who inyan ha'his kashrus. Davening, the tefillah, that's the idea of connecting, to tie yourself. The zehu masha omru. That's why this is the meaning, what the rabbis say, halavai she's palel odom kol hayom kuloi. Halavai, they wish the person would daven. It doesn't mean davening a whole day, literally the davening, but to connect all day. Hainu shekol hayom kuloi. To daven means to the entire day, He should be tied just as during the davening. When you're davening, know before you're standing. You're standing in front of Kodesh Baruch Hu. So all day daven, always know that you're standing in front of Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the preparation, is the seriousness, is the thinking, and the reflection. The koived roish, ki alidei hakoived roish mizbatlim advorim amavavim, through the seriousness in the head. Again, as normally it's translated as the reimim esokel, and the shiflus ha'odom, the greatness of Hashem, and the humility of the lowness of the people, mizbatlin hadvorim hamivavlim. That negates and does away with all the matters that interfere. Especially according to the teaching of the Rav Magid, that what is the meaning in the seriousness of the head? That's the heaviness of the head of all heads. That feeling of feeling the heaviness of the head of all heads, which is of the Shekhinah, that comes through reflection. That what does a person reflect? The neshama is a part of God. That is to reflect. And whatever takes place with the neshama is inevitably, as he says, they're connected to the source, to the root of the neshama. And therefore, now the Rebbe makes a side point over here, that over there it says Chelek Elokam Mimal. We're used to the language in Tanya, Chelek Elokam Mimal Mamish. And the Rebbe says this is precisely what the Chiddush of the Alter Rebbe, to add the word Mamish to Chelek Elokam Mimal. But Toras Harava Magid, the Rebbe says, Shamuva Haloshin, over there the language is Chelek Elokam Mimal. A portion, the neshama is a portion of above, from Hashem, from above. Doesn't say mamish. Mamish, without adding the word mamish. So here we can see the novelty of the Alter Rebbe in this book of Tanya, which is the written Torah of Chabad Chasidus, the Tanya, that's the Torah Shebiksav. The written Torah over there, he writes, Chelek Elokam Mimal Mamish. In addition. So when the person reflects about the neshama, that's a portion of Hashem from above, Hinal Yidezem is batlin kolohinyonim hamalim umastirim. So through that preparation is negated all matters that obscure and block. The take of umiyad mizgale machshavta, so immediately and right away, his thought is revealed, that he is there. That's what his thought. So now we can get to see his thought. Because of his thought, from the prospect of his thought, is in the level of aliyah. And from the level of machshava, from the level of machshava. So then it has to come down from machshava to dibur and ma'aseh, has to come down lower. From the level of machshava, and sheikar machshava zu bedarges hanefesh alamayla metabadas. This thought, that he reflection, that is in the level of this soul, which is higher than reason and rationale. Ki machshava zu hi etzem inyan ha'odom. Because this thought, that is the essence of what a person, the idea of a person. Like it's brought down in Tikkun Zoyar, the connection between machshava and a person and an odom. So over there it says ma ihu odom. When we say ma, here we're going to say the word ma is 45. 45 is the same gematria as Odom. Odom is 45 as well. So ma is Odom. And machshava what is the meaning of machshava, has the two words of choshav, ma, the mem from the beginning and the hey in the end, and the three letters of choshav. It is choshav ma. Machshava means choshav ma chulu di'ihu, which really means odom machshava, because the ma is the odom and machshava, so that means that the odom machshava. So from the level which is the highest, which is the essence of the person, which is higher than his reason and rationale, we want to bring it down into the reason and rationale of the person. From the level of the soul, which is higher than reason and the rationale. This extends later on into his intellect. That also in his mind, this explanation absorbs, it makes sense to him. It's absorbed. Since this stop is based on Hashem, Hashem brought us here, wants us to be here. So it's Api Hashem Yachanu. Is command the Kivilu Domi, that is as if it's set. That this is Hashem's will, and this is where Hashem is, and this is where the stop is fully with Hashem's presence here, and so he knows it intellectually, and then it also helps him in his action, that his actions are consistent with the realization that not to be confused and but to feel the presence and to be able to learn and to daven because of the understanding that this is where Hashem is, that this is the Krias. Tes. Hine al derech zeh hu gam b'chlolus inyan havodas adam. Chlolus inyan avodah. Similar to this is also in the general idea when we serve Hashem, sheyesh b'zegibol lefanim, there are three ways. So you have the intellect, you have action, doing ma'aseh b'poil, as the Rebbe just said, and you have that it's the intellect, intellectually, and you have it connected to the place which is higher than machshava, in machshava, which is higher than tam vadas. So yesh bo gimel ifanim. So in the avodah is three ifanim. Ha'avodah b'negeya l'sur meirav asei toiv b'poil. When we talk about the service as it relates to staying away from evil, from bad, and doing good in actuality, that's ma'aseh b'poil. Shah ma'aseh hu ikar, action is the main. So when we talked about distribution of the land, is larav tarbe goimer v'lamat tamit. The one that has a lot gets a larger portion. The one that has less people gets a smaller portion. It's the logic, and it is the practical. What it means in avodah, that everybody gets his portion and his thing to do. That the person's work is each one according to his portion in the world, that was given to it. That he needs to work, impact b'shnei akavim, in the two lines, the sur meirav asitoiv, doing, staying away from evil and doing good, that everybody has to do, larav, whether a lot, a little, whatever the Eibishter has given you, that's your lot, and that is something that you need to do. That's in ma'aseh b'poil. Then you go to a one step up, l'mayla yosra, higher than this is. Hi avodah shal pi ruach hakodesh. We know that it was also given by the lottery. It was also given by ruach hakodesh. Ubazeh nichlalu shnei inyonim. Over here, it includes two ideas. Ukiyadua, as it's known, sheruach hakodesh Ubchinas Malchus. That Ruach HaKodesh is the level, on one hand, it's two level. It's one, the level of Malchus, the lowest of the Sphira. She's Sphiras Hasid is the 10th. And sometimes we find explained in the Divra Maskul, Sha'afte Mechak Admur, Marsham Nishmos Eiden, Sheruch HaKodesh Ubechinas Chochma. That is the level of Chochma. So whether Ruach HaKodesh is Malchus of Chochma, we have both extremes. It says that Chochma Shebesham Ruach Shoyvim Ruach HaKodesh the Bechinas Malchus, that the Ruach HaKodesh that Malchus has, that we say the level of Malchus, that comes and that's drawn from the level of Chochma. So basically you have Malchus and Chochma and everything in between, as the Rebbe will say. So that's the level of Hishtalshalus. All of this, with Dugmas Hayidu, with Pirush Reishis, this is similar to what we know in the meaning of Reishis. We say Breishis, Beis Reishis, two beginnings. Ubreishis means Beis Reishis. So what are the two beginnings? Sheshteya Bechinas the Reishis, that both beginnings of the Reishis, which is Chochma Malchus, and Chochma is the Reishis of this Sephiras, and Malchus is the Reishis from Biyah coming down, and together Chochma Malchus Nasim Teva Achas. So it's Bereshis, the two Reishis together. That's the Ruach HaKodesh, which is both in Malchus, and it draws it from the level of Chochma. That includes all the 10 spheres, from Malchus through Chochma. So that means that is that the idea of Ruach HaKodesh includes Gam HaBchinas v'Hadargis Shebentayim, also the levels and the steps that are in between the Chochma u'Malchus, the Benefesh of Chochma Malchus and the soul. So in Avodas Hashem, it includes the level of Ruach HaKodesh, not just the Asiya, the practical, the doing, but it comes also the person's Chochma and Malchus and everything in between Chochma and Malchus, which is the entire structure of all the levels in between that are in the soul. And then you come to an even higher level. Then you have the service, which is called the level of lottery. Also has two ideas over here, which is Aleph Emuna, one meaning belief, Goyrel, and Beis Bittel Shalamayla Masechel. And number two is a subjugation which is beyond the rationale, above the intellect. These two levels, whether it's a Muna or Bittel Shalamayla Masechel, is two extremes. The Inyan HaEmuna, the idea of belief, that's mainly in the Sephirah of Malchus. That's below and the end of all levels. He just believes. He doesn't understand. He doesn't have the knowledge. It's an it's a belief which is lower than the level of understanding or emotion. It's just a belief. But then when we have the bittul, which is higher than reason and rationale, that comes from the essence of the neshama, which is higher than the intellect. Through this level of amuna, or through this level of bittul, then there is no question. That's the way to impact. He said, how do we know what's going on with the ne'etzem haneshama? When we go with the level of Amunah with Bittul, there's no doubt in which direction one is led. The Dover Barurhu. And it's a matter is very clear. That you lead him to everything good. Until the ultimate, complete good. To the extent that he merits to see your world, the world to come during your lifetime. You get to experience the world of the future. That by him, by the person is revealed, the bechinas Ach b'goyel yachalek ha'aretz, that level of the goyrel, which is the level of l'mayla and tamadas, the etzam haneshama, that also is yachalek ha'aretz, conquers and helps the person overcome all of his struggles. L'mata masoret tfachim, and below, as we're here, below 10 tfachim, neshama beguf, 10 tfachim being the place, the world starts from 10 tfachim, that's the earth, is neshama beguf to neshama beguf. V'hinei, k'moishe b'chalukas Eretz Yisrael, just like when they divided Eretz Yisrael, Shabaknisa Eretz Yisrael b'pam harishona, when they entered Eretz Yisrael the first time, Hoy Gimel Dvorim, Had Gimel Dvorim Anal, they had all these three matters. First, Ach Begodel Yacholek HaSaretz, the level of Godel, and Al Pi Havaye Beruch HaKodesh, and also Rav Tarbe Tamid Gomer. So you had all three levels. And through these three matters mentioned, that's the way they divided up the land. In a way that each one had his vineyard, his vine, and his fig tree. The Yidden were relaxed and in peace. As the pasuk says, each one was under his vine, under his fig tree, as an expression of being totally in a state of content, a state of relaxation. Similar to that should also be now. Through our work, our service, and even with more force, with more strength, than it was then. Since there was a great descent, the great descent in the hills of Mashiach. So we went through a lot of yiridas that needs to bring us the aliyas, the incarceration and the exiles and the shamas klolius of the general souls of the Nisiya Yisrael, the leaders of Israel. To the extent of the incarceration, the exile of our leader of our generations. That was before the redemption, the Geula Yud Beis Gimel Tammuz. Hine, so then, through the redemption, and now the Rebbe writes, it's not just him, it's not just the Rebbe that the Eibishter, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed. But all that hold our holy Torah precious, those who keep mitzvah, even that one who is only nicknamed, he just calls himself Jewish. That's the extent of his Judaism. So this redemption of the Friedrich Rebbe, which all of us were redeemed then, that's a very close preparation, the tziner and a pipeline, the keli and a vessel, to draw down the general redemption of all of the Jewish people, wherever they may be. That should be once again Kibush Eretz Yisrael, the conquering of Eretz Yisrael, in a way, V'denasati sholim ba'oretz, I will give peace in the land, v'oilech eschem koinemius, and I will lead you with uplifted, upraised, al yidei gimul efanei ha'avodah, through the three types of service of the goydel. We translated it higher than Tamadas, Amun and Bittel. Ruach HaKodesh, we translate Chochma, Ubina, and all the midas in between. The Rav Tarbe, which we translated as the Maise Bepoyel, Goimer. Iker v'Yisod, the main and the basis, the foundation. By making a decision with force and with self-sacrifice. As the saying of the master of today's joy of Yud Beis Tmuz, What is the idea of self-sacrifice? Is the decision. It needs to be so and not different. That's the Mesidas Nefesh, to make that decision so and nothing else, nothing different. And when a Yid says, Kasher Yehudi Omer, when a Yid says, Shu Machlit came that he decides so, it makes no difference how his standing and how his situation was a moment before it. Rambam, as the ruling of the Rambam, that as soon as he says, I want, that is true will. That Rambam, even if you force him, if he says, I want, then his true will is revealed. So when the person says that he wants, he decides to serve the Eibishter with the three ways of Goyru, Ruach HaKodesh, and Tarbe, then he becomes that. If that's what he wants. Because the true will of a Yid, Mashakol Echad MiYisrael, Roitze L'Kayim Es Rotzin HaBoida, wishes to fulfill the will of the Creator, Valasis Kolo Hatoli Boy, to do everything that is up to him, Sheyikuyim Rotzin HaBoida, so that the will of the Creator should be fulfilled. Shebazeh Gam Sheyikuyim Rotzin HaBoida included that this will of the Creator should be fulfilled. Shu Etzem Hatoiv Umeteva Hatoiv Lahetivan. The nature of the good is to do good. So we also want that the will Hashem really wants. Hashem wants to take us out. To take each and every one out of the Jewish people, from the exile, in every place that they are, in a way, you will be picked one by one. Each and every one will be picked up by Hashem himself and hold each one by the hand, take us out. This way of taking out, holding each one, Mar, as Rashi explains over there, this shows how great our special, we are dear to Hashem, the great love, and the great divine providence on each and every Jew. He should lead us up, lifted to our land, because of Mamish very soon, with the coming of a righteous Mashiach.